seeing how much of catch-up we can do because we have another guest with Mark Bay.
Well, Sulaiman, you did say it was my lucky day, and indeed it is. I have another guest here. Ismael Ahmed is a member of the APC, the All Progressives Congress. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning.
Well, I'm sure you've been following what's been going on in the polity. Only just yesterday, we saw the Senate rejecting the appointment or the confirmation of the acting chairman of the EFCC as a chairman. What is the reaction of members of your party to that, or your own personal reaction?
I don't think the party has given any official reaction yet.
But what's the thinking of members?
Well, I don't know. I have not aggregated the thinking of most of the members of the party, but I think we are coming to terms with the reality that we are running a democracy. It's a constitutional democracy, for that matter, and that institutions like the Senate, which are saddled with the constitutional responsibility of screening government appointees, would have to do their job without interference. And they came out with their report. We were initially worried by the time of the delay, by the amount of delay that was put in the confirmation proceedings, which was supposed to take place way back in a couple of, I think 4 or 5 months back, which never took place, for whatever reason they had. But finally, it did happen yesterday, and they rejected them. So
would you say that you could have sensed it coming? Owing to that delay?
Not really, actually, because they did say that they did made informal. There were informal conversations going on about because this is more or less a government that was anchored around anti-corruption, and that people that would be saddled with the responsibility of fighting this scourge of corruption would have to be vetted, in every sense of the word. But our argument as at that time would be that the presidency would not nominate anyone that was not thoroughly vetted. But the Senate obviously wanted to make sure that they did their own part of the job. And I think based on their whatever reasons they gave yesterday, that there was a report from the DSS which they felt it disqualified him to continue holding that office. So I think we'll still study that, and then maybe later the party will come up with an official reaction. But for now, the Senate has done their job. They'll submit a report to the executive, and the executive will do what is necessary.
Are you seeing excerpts? I don't know if you've read the papers today, but then there are excerpts
I haven't.
Of what was contained in that security report, even though, well, it will still be left to speculation since we're not privy to that report. But then there are insinuations that the EFCC chair might not have been as above board as everyone thought.
Yeah, well, I heard about that.
You did hear about that?
Yes, I read it. Someone told me about it last night, and he said that those were part of the reasons that he was disqualified. But like you said, this is a speculative information. No one is absolutely certain yet. But if that is the case, then it's rather unfortunate.
Well, quite a number of incidences have been, have come up of late. First of all, we saw the CCB threaten to arrest some ministers over non-declaration of assets, not completing the process, it would seem. We also saw this week the Senate recommending that the SGF be asked to resign and prosecuted as well. And now we see the Senate as well reject the confirmation of the EFCC acting chair on the basis of a security report, which also points to the fact that the EFCC chair might not have been as above board as everyone thought. What are your thoughts on the overarching, fight against corruption, especially as this administration is espoused?
I think it's you can look at it from both ways. One is the fact that I am beginning to be convinced that for the first time, really, my government and my party is living up to the expectation of the people. That it's going to be a transparent government, in the sense that these are things we don't used to hear before in other administrations, especially in the last 16 years, where clearly ministers in government would be called by the CCB. I haven't read that report, but if that's the case, that they have not completed their asset declaration forms. It's never happened before. This is the first time it's happening, to show you the independence of the CCB. Or where, an acting EFCC chair would be rejected by the Senate based on a report by DSS, which is another parastatal of government as well, under the executive, to say that he has not actually lived above board. But these are things that, as nauseating as they are, as uncomfortable as they are, happening now, but it shows that a new era is dawning where, regardless of the position or authority you hold in this administration, if there is some sort of, any facts or suggestions that you are not squeaky clean, quote and unquote, then the system will flush you out. And I think it's a commendable program.
It's interesting you say that the system will flush you out, because we're yet to see anyone that the system has flushed out based on this allegation.
We are talking about them right now, which we don't used to talk about anyone else.
Well,
like
but talking about them doesn't mean that they've been flushed out. It's a good thing.
It's a process.
That you say
it's a process. This is the beginning.
It's a good thing you said that there are two ways of looking at it, because for a lot of other people who are observing it, they're wondering, if this is not same of the same.
Well, I wouldn't say they're same of the same, because in other administrations we never get to hear about these things anyway. The system never tells
There were quite a number of allegations. I do recall this is not the first time that we've heard accusations against the sitting EFCC chair, or even an active one.
Rejected by the Senate?
Mrs. Farida Waziri had a lot of allegations against her. Even Nuhu Ribadu himself, had some other allegations against whatever the motivations were. But we do recall very strongly that the president then was put under pressure over the case of Mrs. Farida Waziri, and it didn't mean that she was removed anyway. Eventually, she was.
Okay, let me differentiate the issues for you. One, I'm not sure, but I can remember vividly during the time of Farida Waziri and probably Malam Nuhu Ribadu, there was never an official report from the DSS saying that these people had issues. This time around, there is. There was never a rejection by the Senate. This time around, there is. Those are two institutions of government, not speculations on pages of newspapers or people writing petitions, individual people writing petitions. No. These are institutions of government checking the system itself, which is exactly what the president had wanted to do from day one. Strengthen the institutions so that they'll be independent enough to fight this scourge of corruption, not about people writing petitions and then there will be allegations on pages of newspapers and then there will be pressure from the media on the president or whoever is the appointing authority to fire that person. Not those kind of trend that we used to see before. These are institutions of government. The only reason we're talking about the non-confirmation of Magu, which was cited by an institution of the Senate, was that there was a report by the DSS, which is also a parastatal of government. Have you ever seen that before, Maupe? Let's be honest. It has never happened before. This is the first time. So I'm not saying it's good for the administration. It breaks my heart, to be honest. But to tell me that there's no improvement in the way the system works, I don't believe that. I think there is an improvement. Is it where we are supposed to be? No. Should we be holding our hands and singing Kumbaya that we have arrived in the fight against corruption? Absolutely no. I am heartbroken personally because of the things I'm seeing or I'm hearing. They may be true, they may not be true, but whatever the case, perception is 85% of government. So I'm heartbroken. Well, Ismael, but the system is working.
Just a moment. I hear we have to take a break now. We'll be back to discuss the issues even a little further. Do join us again.